Hey guys, MSG Retired here. Today I am bringing you my Jeremy DeWitt finale. That's right, the finale. The culmination of all of Jeremy's criminal felonies in the county of Orange in the state of Florida. I was away last week. All of this stuff posted on the Orange County Courthouse website. A plea agreement was made on 9/17. They entered into a plea agreement. There were actually 10 open cases at the time. Two of the cases, let's see, I did make some notes. 001974 and 001853 were no prosecute. The district attorney's office decided they weren't going to prosecute those two cases, which leaves 8 additional cases that were culminated into a plea agreement. And I've got the Orange County, let's see. I've got the Orange County website up. And what I did was I opened each of the criminal felony cases. And the two that were not prosecuted, here's one of them. This was unlawful interception of wire or oral communication and unlawful. There were 2 counts. That one was not prosecuted. And let's see, that one was the 1853. And then the 1974. So this was a falsely personating an officer. So these are the 2 cases, and I'm just going to delete those out of my queue here. Those were the 2 cases that were not prosecuted. Now, if we go back and look at the other cases, 12-733, this was from 2019. He was adjudicated guilty on 2 of the charges. The resisting officer without violence was a no proseque, so he was not prosecuted on that offense. And court fees right here, balance $518. Now you're going to see every one of these 8 cases had a $518 amount, which that's going to be a pretty big nut for him to crack once he is released. He did get a total of 18 months, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff involved with that as well in regards to probation. But a lot of this stuff is all duplicated throughout on each of the cases. He's got a balance of like a little bit over $4,000 for all of the fees he has to pay, and he's going to have to pay that within 3 years of release, and any balance that's owed after that 3 years, he's going to have to work out some type of payment plan. But he's got 3 years to pay off that $4,000. I forget what the total amount was, but it's $518 on each of the cases. Let's see, what do we want to look at here? Let's look at the court minutes, because this is where we're going to see a lot of the additional information. So as we're looking at the court minutes, you're going to see where all of the cases are listed. 2 of the cases are running concurrent with each count and the probation sentences, and then the remainders are running consecutive. And that's how they came up with the 18 months. I think every one of them, it was like 110 days. And he got 110 days credit for the amount of time he's been in jail previously. The probation, this is where You know, I don't think the 18 months is that big of a deal for him, to be truthful. I think the stuff that's listed here in the probation is going to hurt him more than anything. I'm going to try and make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. So if we look at this, see if we can fill up the screen here a little bit more where you can see this just a little bit better. Okay, so under the probation, you will remain at your residence between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. due to curfew imposed, unless otherwise directed by court. So basically, from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., he has to remain at his residence. For his first 2 years of probation, he's going to be on a GPS monitor. And that has to be placed on him within 24 hours of release. And it's not community control sentence. Then it talks about obtains a valid passport. He has to go through his probation officer regarding travel and petition the court in a motion in order to travel. He is to engage, this is what's going to kill him. Engage in no activities related to Metro State. Do not appear in public to be affiliated with Metro State. Do not publicly comment about Metro State. Exceptions: to close any linked bank accounts to Metro State, to permanently close the DeWitt official Metro State YouTube channel, to permanently close Metro State's website. That's going to make him crazy because he has to get rid of all of those videos. He has to get rid of his website. All of that stuff has to go away. He cannot comment in public about it. It's going to be really hard for him to meet these conditions of probation. We know his history. He has a history of violating probation previously. So I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see how this goes. He's going to show proof to probation within 60 days of release of these closures. So basically, he has to close this stuff out and prove it to his probation officer. Defendant may work only with his attorney regarding resolution of any pending Metro State civil litigation. They have an eviction notice that is still pending in court. These exceptions do not give the defendant any authority to possess any Metro State property. That includes equipment, vehicles, gear, etc. All physical transfers of property, if any, must go through a third party. Defendant shall not possess any pepperball guns or anything resembling a firearm. Wow. His dress-up make-believe stuff this is going to really kill him. A utility belt, bulletproof vests, handcuffs, badges, or uniforms resembling law enforcement agencies or any other government agencies. If he puts on a military uniform, that is a government agency. So if he goes out there and dresses up as Major Jeremy DeWitt, Special Forces or Negative 37 Special Forces Group, bang, that's going to be a violation. You can't have vehicles equipped with strobing, flashing lights, emblems, insignia, spotlights, lettering, excuse me, design, etc. He shall not conduct directly or indirectly any funeral escort or security details. And defendant shall not direct any other individuals to do the same. By accepting the plea, defendant acknowledges that Florida Statute 316-1974 does not authorize non-law enforcement vehicle escort vehicles to drive outside of the funeral procession lane. He has to admit that. And as a narcissist, this is going to make him out of his mind. nor to commit other traffic infractions intended to facilitate the procession. Every time he got on the motorcycle, every time he got into one of his cars, he violated that Florida statute. 6 months driver's license suspension to be imposed upon release from Department of Correction. He shall relinquish his motorcycle endorsement for the duration of probation. That's 48 months. So he can't ride a motorcycle for 48 months, 4 years, and he's not going to have a driver's license for 2 years. He has to show proof of relinquishment to probation within 30 days of release. Defendant shall have no contact with any victims or witnesses from any cases except his wife. Probation may be transferred to Osceola County. So he may, his probation may be transferred over to Osceola County. Hence the two different jurisdictions. And they kind of clarify that here. Probation supervision may terminate early upon approval from the court at halfway point if there is no violations. So after 2 years, he can petition the court to have an early termination of his probation. However, I don't think he's going to make the 2 years. And he has to report to probation within 24 hours of release from the Department of Corrections. And then it goes down into here, which was shown the concurrent and the consecutive. And then you will comply with this, what I just went over. Fines and costs. Pay the fines and costs totaling $518. That's for this case. And I believe that's cumulative for each one of them. And it just talks a little bit more. Report to the probation officer as directed. Permit the probation officer to visit him or her at his or her home or elsewhere. Work faithfully at suitable employment insofar as may be possible. Remain within a specified place. Live without violating any law. A conviction in a court of law is not necessary for such a violation of law to constitute a violation of probation, community control, or any other form of court-ordered supervision. So if he violates the law, if he drives a vehicle without a license, any of that, he is subject to and no conviction required. He has a very good chance of his probation being violated. Make reparation or restitution to the aggravated party for the damage or loss caused. I looked up some of those, and I didn't see where any restitution was ordered. Excuse me, guys. My sinuses have been going crazy. I've got that little post-nasal drip going on. And then it just goes on. He needs to support his or her legal dependents to the best of his or her ability. Make payments of the debt due and owing to the state. He needs to not associate with persons engaged in criminal activities. Submit to random testing as directed by the probation officer. Be prohibited from possessing, carrying, or owning any firearm, weapon without first procuring the consent of the probation officer. He can't have anything that even resembles a firearm. That's stipulated well within this. Be prohibited from using intoxicants to excess. Submit to drawing of blood or other biological specimens as prescribed. Reimburse the appropriate agency for the cost of the drawings and transmission of blood. So he's going to do that if he has to do any of that. The court may rescind, modify at any time the terms and conditions imposed by it upon the probationer. So, and this goes on, just standard stuff. And it was actually signed by Renee A. Roach, which I'm really surprised she only did the 18 months. That really surprised me that he only got the 18 months. But it's those open 8 cases, the 2 that were not prosecuted. He's got like a big stack of felony convictions now. It's really going to be hard for him to get really good gainful employment as a convicted felon. I'm not saying he can't, but it seems as though his entire life he's been all about the uniforms and dressing up and making himself look important, and that's all gone. That's gone away. The any government agency, I was really glad to see them put that in there, because that's going to cover any of your military services or any other type of government uniforms. I mean, anything. Civil Air Patrol, the Coast Guard Auxiliary. I mean, he can't wear any uniforms, period, nothing. Unless he works at a tire shop. He might be able to wear a tire shop uniform, Firestone or Goodyear or something like that. But I did want to do this finale. So, the Stolen Valor thing, I did my best. I really did. I reached out to a lot of different people trying to get somebody to do something with it. And unfortunately, we couldn't get it done. He made the claims, and I know for a fact when he was trying to get contracts, he talked about his being a war hero and jumping into Fallujah and all that other bullshit that never happened. Well documented. Never been in the military, never been in any military training, never had anything to do with any of it. So that's all well documented. However, it's also well documented that he did wear a dress green Army uniform with a lot of awards that are Valor type awards, the Combat Infantry Badge, Silver Star, Purple Heart, probably numerous other ones. And there's no telling what his stories are going to be. I would love to see his intake forms for whatever jail he goes to, or correction, whatever prison he goes to. I'd love to see his intake forms to see if he claims veteran status. Because he's done it. He's been processed into the some of the jails, and he checks the box, veteran. And he's not a veteran. Never has been, never will be. Never could be. So that pretty much wraps up my finale on Jeremy DeWitt. So in 18 months when he gets released, or sooner, who knows? It is Florida. You never know down there. But when he gets released, it will be curious. I will be curious, and I'm sure every one of you will be curious how long he goes before he ends up violating that probation. I don't think he's going to make the first 2 years. My own personal take on it, just based on his previous acts where he's violated it before and ended up doing additional time. A lot of you have asked me about the Sergeant Vidler, Corporal Ramsey thing that's going on down there with the disciplinary actions and that stuff. And I want to address that kind of objectively. And after looking at everything that's involved with that whole thing, and it all goes right back to that, pretty much that one traffic stop where he pulled up next to Jeremy, looked over, saw what appeared to be a Glock handgun in a holster on his belt. It was different than the other pepper ball guns he's carried in the past that had the big screw-on knob on the magazine side. This actually has a magazine that resembles a Glock firearm. I think the stop was justified due to the fact that there were some claims that Jeremy had had mentioned or made some comments in regards to violence toward law enforcement. I don't know if that was substantiated or if it, or I just don't know. There wasn't a lot on that. I think the stop was justified. Um, I don't think the arrest was. I think once, and I know everybody says, well, he can't carry a pepper ball gun, blah, 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 blah. Jeremy is the king of loopholes. He got around the loophole on the body armor due to the fact that it was required for his employment. Being the owner of Metro State, he said all of his guys were going to wear body armor. So, in fact, he had to wear body armor. That's how he got over on it. Had somebody else in the company purchase the body armor, because as a convicted felon, he cannot purchase body armor. The business purchased the body armor. It was issued to him, and he could wear it. That's how we got around that. The pepper ball gun was for self-defense, and it could be carried, open carried, for self-defense purposes, even by a convicted felon. I don't know. I didn't dig that deep into it. That's how he's been getting over on that. And I think the stop was good. Once Sergeant Vidler realized that it was a pepper ball gun, I believe he should have been released forthwith. In regards to the disciplinary hearing, previous to this traffic stop, there was a memorandum that went out to the investigators that were working on all of the Metro State cases that stated they would not initiate any further investigations, arrests, traffic stops, or anything on the Metro State guys, any of them, unless it was a capital crime. I've seen that. I think everybody else has seen that. That was a memorandum from senior staff at Orange County Sheriff's Department down to those investigators. I think that's what got Sergeant Vidler and Corporal Ramsey in trouble, more so than anything else, was the violation of that memorandum, which was a direct order from a senior officer within the Orange County Sheriff's Department. My take on it. Police officers have a great deal of discretion out on the street as to what they do. Everything from traffic stops. There are very few circumstances where things are not left up to that officer's discretion. For instance, any domestic violence type crimes, usually the main aggressor is going to be arrested. There's a few other ones out there, but I mean, for instance, driving with a suspended license. That's usually an arrestable offense, regardless of where you are. Here in Massachusetts, arrestable offense if you have probable cause that the person was operating the vehicle on a public way. And does that mean the officer has to arrest that person? No, he doesn't have to arrest that person. He could do a criminal application or a criminal summons and summons that person into court to answer for that charge, and then have the vehicle towed or whatever their protocol is at that point. For that matter, he could even just give them a warning, all depending on what their history is. One thing about law enforcement today is that officer has a great deal of information at the tip of his fingers right there on that CRT in his vehicle. That computer terminal in that vehicle has got access to a vast amount of data on everybody, their driving records, criminal histories, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of discretion left up to law enforcement officers on the street as to what they do. So that's why there's such a microscope, such a magnifying glass on everything they do nowadays. And it's because of that amount of discretion they have. So, I know Sergeant Vidler had his hearing on Friday, and best of luck to him. I don't think he should be terminated regardless. They could take some type of punitive action, reduction in rank, suspension, something along those lines. I mean, he's had a very honorable career, and unfortunately, just like all of us, he went down the Jeremy DeWitt rabbit hole. And that's because Jeremy was throwing this stuff in his face every chance he got. Um, so, with that, hey guys, if you like the content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. Not sure where we're going to go from here. This is the finale on Jeremy DeWitt. We're going to stay tuned and see if he emerges wearing some type of military garb upon his release. And we'll keep tabs on that, and we'll see what happens. I've got a few other Stolen Valor things in the hopper. We'll see where that goes. I got a bunch of content I still need to post from my trip to Americade, Lake George, New York. It was a great week. It rained every day. We went out and rode in the rain, and it is what it is. Went up to Lake Placid. I got some great video from up on the ski jumps, so stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up here real quick, hopefully in the next day or so. So subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell to get notifications of any new media I upload. And as always, guys, have yourself a great day.